Yes. Okay, awesome. Let me set this up. Welcome, guys. My name is Bram. I created startupstash.com, which is a website for startups. It has 400 resources and tools for startups, and I launched it just over a month ago on Product Hunt, and it got like 150,000 page views in 24 hours. So that was a big surprise. Um, I'm here to answer questions. I got some questions on the side, so I'll just check those out and see what's fun to answer. There's, of course, one on the top which asks, what's next? Maybe that's fun to tell a little bit later. Um, Let me check. So there's a question, what's the most critical part when launching a new site? Um, if I can tell from my experience, there was one big thing I was really worried about, and that was the hosting. Um, I had an idea of the site that the site would be interesting for people, and I really had to make sure that if it got a lot of visitors, then of course it still had to work. And I know some stuff about creating a site, obviously, but I have no clue about hosting and all those things. So for me personally, it was the hosting part of the website that I really had to take care of. Because sometimes you see people say like, hey, I launched and my site crashed, so I did really well, but most of the times that kind of means that their hosting wasn't really in order, I think. So yeah, that for me that was the biggest part, and of course, like spelling errors and stuff. I see a lot of press releases, and there are spelling errors in like the first sentence. So that's always a good one to maybe triple check before you really go live. Um, so Dawson asks, what kind of framework did I build the site on? That's actually really easy to answer. It's a basic WordPress site with a $45 theme from Team Forest that I stripped for like 80%. I think it's just a basic directory theme. So yeah, that's just what I use. It's called Metro Deer. So if you like the theme, you can just search for it and download it yourself. Wait, let me scroll through the questions. Okay, so John asks, how did you come up with the idea? I wrote a Medium post about the creation of Startup Stash. I'll share that on Twitter. It's on my Medium page. So the idea for Startup Stash, I've been working with startups for a while now. I worked at an investor before here in Amsterdam, and I always liked to gather like tools and resources that I could use for myself, maybe later, and for the startups I was working with. So I had this little list of maybe 100 tools and resources, and I got the time to do something for myself. So I thought, yeah, well, maybe I can do something with these tools. I've always liked these old school directory pages or like start pages from back in the day. So what I did was I made a big Excel sheet. Oh no, I first I wrote down categories from the top of my head, like what are categories of tools and resources that startups would be interesting in. So obviously marketing, PR, launching, development, design, domain names, hosting, etc. So I wrote all these down. I had like 50 categories. And then I started to fill up this big Excel sheet with with all the stuff that I found. So that took me like 5 months. And yeah, after 5 months, I had around 400, or I had 40 categories that were totally filled up. So at that point, I thought, well, okay, let's create the site. So yeah, the idea basically came from my own interest, I think. So I was collecting these tools and resources before, and there are some sites like Steve Blank on his personal website. He has a big list of tools and resources, but that's just one long bullet point list with some bold category names in between. So there wasn't really a site that gave you like a quick overview of resources and tools. So that's kind of where the idea came from. Let me check. Okay, so Mortena asks MVP or business plan first. I really think MVP should come first because if you like in traditional entrepreneurship classes or courses, you start off with a business plan, right? So what's your idea? What's your target group? How are you going to make money? How are you going to market your product? All these things, but most of the questions don't revolve around the product itself. They revolve around the business aspect. So that's why it's obviously called a business plan. And an MVP is more geared towards the real the real product, like the thing people are going to use or the service you're going to give them. So I really think an MVP should come first. There have been like a lot of apps that had a very, very basic MVP that got it right on the first try. They really solved the problem that people were having. And yeah, it's better to build off an MVP than to start from scratch after you've written down a business plan, which is in essence only a big piece of paper. So definitely MVP first. Um, Let me check. Let me check. Okay, so OJ asks, how did you get so many users to sign up so quickly? I don't know. I don't have a sign up on my site. But what I did do was when I was collecting all the tools in my big Excel sheet, I made a lander on the URL and I put that up on beta list. I managed to get up on beta list. And I got like 600 subscribers, email subscribers of people that were interested in hearing more about what I was making. So I used those people to get more feedback, and they eventually told other people. So when I launched, I think I had around 950 people in the email list that I could notify about the launch. So Dawson asks, what was the biggest Kickstarter to the traction? So the biggest Kickstarter was Product Hunt. So after I got all my tools, that took me like 5 months, and then it took me 4 more weeks to build the site. And I decided to launch it on Product Hunt. I've been a very active user from the beginning of Product Hunt, so I thought it would be cool to launch it on Product Hunt. And yeah, well, if you know the if you know Product Hunt, then you know that there's a lot of interesting people on there, very influential, and yeah, so Product Hunt really helped to get it started, and then it got picked up by Business Insider, which is yeah, really amazing. Like I didn't really expect that, and yeah, so when it went on Business Insider, then it really took off. Like Business Insider is of course more for a mainstream audience. So yeah, that really helped it take off. And of course, there are a lot of companies on the website. So when it got more traction, these companies saw they were on the website, and then they also started tweeting it. And like most tech companies have, well, some thousand followers, so that also really worked in helping spread the word. Um, okay, so Tom B asks, how finished, unfinished was your MVP when you launched? What kind of function did you add after user feedback? So the biggest unfinished thing was actually the design. Um, I like the grid, but I was working on making it a little bit more cleaner and not so bright orange. It's pretty overwhelming still. Um, so yeah, I really wanted to change that, but I had some difficulties with my code and I don't know. It didn't really work out. So then I just thought, well, let's just put it live, and we'll do that later. And that's the one thing personally I really wanted to change before, but eventually it didn't really matter because it's still simple to use. And the other big thing, which is kind of dumb, is that I didn't put so for every product there's a detail page, and people can click on several places and they go to the website of the product. And obviously you really want to track those clicks to these products, so then you can show how much traffic you're giving them. But that's the biggest thing I forgot, was putting trackers on those links, and that's only one little piece of code to track the outbound links. So I got some feedback from companies telling me how much traffic they got, but like for me, I have no clue. I can go in Google Analytics, but I can't see it. So that was kind of dumb, because that's a very good metric to have. Um, so John asks, how's the retention rate on Startup Stash? So I started on the first day. I think it had like 15,000 visits, and the second day 25,000 visits, and now it's around 2-3,000 a day still. No, like 1,500 till 3,000. It really fluctuates. So yesterday it was 27. The day before yesterday it was 32. So it's still pretty. It's pretty good, I think. If I can get around 30 to 50,000 visits each month in the next 2 months or something, then I think it's okay. Um, John asks if it's just me or if I have some co-founders. It's just me, um, but I got some help from friends who fixed some bugs in the code of the team I bought, or who helped me with the hosting. Um, and in the beginning, I had a friend who wrote a small bot that could help me get some info from all the websites. So I had all these lists with URLs. Um, but of course, I didn't want to go to every website to get their social links and get a tagline and a name, um, and email addresses, etc. So he wrote a crawling bot for me, and that really helped me speed up the process of get all the info about the companies. Okay, so Rosabelle asks, did you set affiliate deals before launching Startup Stash? I guess you had some monetization strategy before launching it. Actually, I really didn't. Um, so my first thought was, um, well, maybe it's better to explain. So I had a launch date in my head, which was February 25, which is on a Wednesday, which is the best day to post on Product Hunt. The next week, I was going to San Francisco. So my strategy was, if this is a good launch, then I'll have a fun story to tell in San Francisco. So that date was a set date. I really wanted to go live on that day. So I was working on the side. I put all the content and stuff, and then I got some emails. I reached out to some companies before and asking if they wanted to sponsor. They all didn't, but that's another story. Um, so then I started thinking about affiliate links, and then I made a decision to just launch it, and then maybe later I can add those links. So there are no affiliate links through the whole site. Um, so yeah, I haven't made any money from it. So maybe it in the end now it would have been better if I made an app or something like a 99-cent app. Then I would have made some money. But for now, it's totally free. It's just something I made for all of you that are involved with startups, building your own stuff. So yeah, no monetization strategy for now. Um, okay, so Tom asks, how do you build yourself a name and get traction on pages like Product Hunt and Beta List? So um, Product Hunt is actually a site I discovered very early on. I think a little bit over a year ago now, and um, yeah, I don't know. I think it's all about sharing. So sharing stuff you find, sharing stuff you like and don't like, sharing advice. So especially right now, I have people that email me and ask me if I want to give some feedback on their product, and I really try to always do that, even if it's like 2 or 3 sentences, um, and try to pinpoint um, just one essential feedback thing. Mm. And yeah, I don't know if there's a real strategy for it. Um, I think it's just all about connecting and seeing, like, trying to find how you can add value for other people, and try and help them with their product. And for Beta List, yeah, I kind of cheated with Beta List. Um, I have some friends who know the founder, so I emailed him directly and I told him about my idea, and he really liked it. So he helped me to get on the site, which normally takes like, I don't know, 4 months maybe. He has way too much to look at. So that normally that does take a very long time. So I got really lucky with that. Let me check. So number one question now on top is, what advice would you give teenagers in high school who want to start their own businesses? Um, yeah, that's a good one. When I was in high school, I I was on Napster all day, downloading songs and burning them on CDs, and then selling those CDs on school for like $5, and that was my entrepreneurial journey in high school. And I sold and bought some mobile phones. Like mobile phones really came up, and that's something I did. But those aren't really businesses. I, I I don't know. There are a lot of young people that have a true business now, even when they're in high school. And I think the best advice is probably to just do it. If you know a problem that you can give a solution to, or via a product or a service. I mean, you live at home with your mom and dad. They make you food, and you have a bed, and there's no real obligations money wise. So if you can teach yourself to make this product, or you have friends that you can make this together with, then you should definitely just try it. Like there's no real there's no real danger in just trying it. So I think that's the biggest advice. Um, so Martina asks, what are the most crucial parameters for Startup Stash? How do you monitor them? So the most crucial parameters are the outbound clicks. Um, but yeah, like I told before, that's something um, I didn't implement. So I can't really monitor those. So the only thing I'm monitoring right now is the traffic, which is pretty consistent for the last 2 weeks definitely. But I think I can really see like the long tail value in maybe like 2 months. If it's still like 2,000 a day after 2 months, then I think that's a very good metric to have then. Um, let me check. Let me check. Um, Martolini asks, would you consider Startup Stash a company or a product? So for now, definitely a product. Um, some people have called it a startup already. I don't really know about that. Um, it's definitely a product for now. Um, as you can see, there's some pretty important stuff I didn't really do, like monetization, tracking the most important metrics. Um, it's essentially all about the content, and that's also why I think it took off. Is that people understand what the site is about, what the purpose is, and they like the content. So yeah, that's it's definitely a product for now. Um, just wondering asks, have you prepared for any searches in traffic? For example, DDoS. Um, so yeah, I have managed WordPress hosting sponsor, and I've put Cloudflare in front of that. So that's cloudflare.com, and that's just yeah, that's a service that protects that sits between the visitor and your site, so they can see if there's an attack or malicious activity or whatever, and then they help you protect that, and they also help you to capture all the peaks in traffic. Bradley asks, where does most of your traffic come from? That's a good question. Let me check. I think it's it's actually still Product Hunt. So early this week, Product Hunt had they went through the 1 million upvote barrier. So there have been 1 million upvotes in total, and they made a blog post that did pretty well. So that's where most of the traffic still comes from. Let me check real quick. Yeah, so last 7 days, it's Medium, Product Hunt, Facebook, entrepreneur.com, and my own email list. So most is still Facebook, Product Hunt, and yeah, well, the Medium article gave me 2,000 visits yesterday, so that's pretty amazing. Let me check for another one. Mortena asks, in what phase should my startup start thinking about getting external board members? Um, I don't know if you're talking about people that are investing. So when people invest in your startup, and sometimes you get an extra board member. Um, I don't know if you have to get like an external board member in a very early phase. It's probably you and some co-founders, and I think it's better to find a mentor that can help you with certain stuff if you find yourself in some trouble or you have questions. But yeah, like external board members, that's a pretty big step. So definitely in the later phase, and definitely when you have some serious funding. Um, let me check. John asks, what's your background? What do you think of starting a startup while having other commitments like being in school or working another job? So, um, I actually studied medicine for 2 years. And before that, like I said, in high school, I was always online, did stuff with internet. And yeah, I kind of gave up on that. And then I went to study medicine. And I quit that study after 2 years. Um, and then eventually I found a study that fit my like my hobby and my interests, and that was called digital communication and multimedia design in Amsterdam, where they basically learn you how to create a product from scratch. So from your notepad, your pen on paper idea to really a product and an idea. So that really suited my interests and my hobby, and yeah, I did some stuff while during that study, and those all failed. But it was fun to learn and just try. And like every project you do, you see other stuff that can go wrong and other stuff that can go right. So yeah, I definitely think while you're in school, looking back, I think in school is definitely the best time to start something, because when you're done and your business goes well, you can continue. When you graduate your college, you can continue doing that business, and you don't have to look for a job. So that's definitely the best moment, I think. And yeah, during a job, that's always difficult. Like how do you commit your time? And yeah, if you're working on something else, how much do you like your job? So I think during a job it's very difficult, but you can also work at night, of course. And during school is definitely the best time to start something. um, I saw some new ones pop up. Let me check. um, Whoop, whoop, whoop. Okay, so Rosabelle asks, how do you? Whoa, I was reading it. How do you validate a stash? I think by stash you mean a category or a product. Um, so for all 400 products that are on the site right now, I've checked them all, and like every 10 products in each category are the best choices I could give you. So there are probably other products in, let's say, the marketing category that would better suit your needs um, for the phase you're in right now. But yeah, each category just has 10 of the best suggestions for, in this case, marketing. Um, so yeah, that's kind of how I try to validate it. They all have to be products that you can use. So they all have to be live, and they all have to have like a clear um, purpose for using it. Um, so Ivar asks, how do you find and keep what seems to be the rarest commodity nowadays, good tech developers? Uh, yeah, that's a good question. I'm not a developer. I can do some stuff, but I'm definitely not a developer. Um, what I really think is like if you need developers, if you're not a developer yourself and you're building something big and you need a developer, then you should definitely have a lot of knowledge about all the other stuff. Um, so that could be the business or just the product development side. So everything apart from the coding. If you want to keep good developers with you, um, I think it's important to show them that you're really in charge of all the other stuff, because they're very aware of the fact that you need them. So if you can show that you're very much in charge of all the other stuff, then I think that's a good way to keep those people working with you and making sure they don't go to someone else and work on other stuff. Mm. So there are 2 or 3 questions about what's next. Um, yeah, that's a very good question. So I was really, really, really surprised about the whole yeah, viral thing. I had very low expectations. I knew it would be something for the people that were using Product Hunt. So I was launching on Product Hunt, and I knew um, um, I knew it would fit their target audience. But I didn't really expect for it to take off like this. Um, so I was kind of caught off guard. Like the first 2 days, I had like 30 mentions per 15 minutes on my phone. I got like 600 emails. I have more than 600 submissions for products to be on the site. Um, so there's definitely a lot to work with. But yeah, I launched it. Then I went on a holiday to San Francisco for 2 weeks. I just got back, and I've been working on a new job actually for the last 2 weeks. Something I signed before I launched the Startup Stash. Mm. And um, that's something. Yeah, I'm really dedicated to working on right now. Um, but yeah, I really see that Startup Stash hit a note somewhere. So a lot of people think it's interesting. Um, and I still do too, but I really have to figure out how I can, um, like, what the next step is. So true answer is I haven't really thought about it, and I know it's definitely time to do, because I think keeping the site, I will definitely keep it alive. But it would be cool if there would be someone else that could take it over and expand it and make it even better. So yeah, real answer is I don't really know yet. Um, so yeah, just follow me and follow Startup Stash, and you can see where it'll go next. I think it's exciting. I think it could be definitely something bigger even. And I've been talking to people already and see if they would be willing to take it over and work on it. And yeah, so I'm right in the middle of figuring all that out. Um, Let me check. I got a lot of questions. Or I answered a lot of them already. Mm, yeah. So um, have you looked for any kind of funding or external network? Um, yeah, like before I launched it, I reached out to some of the companies that were featured on the site, and I asked them if they wanted to sponsor my launch. And I told them I was a hunter on Product Hunt, that it was going to be really big and awesome, etc. And well, they all said no. But yeah, I tried to do that. There was one launching sponsor, and he gave me a little bit of money, and I paid some hosting stuff with that, and I used it for the site, but that was a really small amount. um, but yeah, there are definitely some people interested uh, in doing something with it, but I haven't actively looked for funding or anything like that, because um, I have a hosting sponsor now. So running the site is costing me zero euros per month. So yeah, the hosting partner already has some new customers through Startup Stash. So yeah, we'll definitely keep the site on. So the only thing where money would be needed was for someone to develop the site further. So not actively looking right now. Um, Tom asks about monitoring services. The only thing I use is Google Analytics, and yeah, no, Google Analytics is the only thing. Um, I have to scroll through the questions. Let me check. John asks, have you considered selling Startup Stash? Um, yes, um, but I really think if if it's a little bit more um, if it's a little bit more developed, if there are people that are paying for, let's say, a featured spot, or there has to be some kind of revenue, then I think it's much more interesting to sell it to someone or a company that can take it even further. So I have thought about it. I didn't have any offers up until now. But no, I think I'm keeping it to my like I'm keeping it for now. I'm definitely not selling it now. Um, Let me check. So Lars asks, have you ever considered to use the voice of the crowd, opening up your platform and let it curated by your users, visitors? Yeah, so if you do that, then you'll have Product Hunt, I think. Um, well, actually, I the answer to this is definitely no, um, because um, because I really see this site kind of as a blog where I'm the curator and I decide what to put on and what not to put on. And each category will always have 10 products. And sometimes I'll put something new in and I'll take something out. So I think you can better see it as a blog where I'm the author and I make the decisions about the content. So um, uh, it won't be open for the crowd. I thought about adding comments or reviews or something, but I really want to stay away from reviews. So all the content with every product, it's just a description of the product itself. There's no opinion. There's no review. It's all geared towards discovering a product that suits you in the stage you're in right now. And there are enough websites that have thousands of reviews about software products and stuff. And I really want to keep away from that and be more on the discovery side. Um, Let me check. I think it's time for the last question. So if you still have questions, let me know, and I'll answer those. I'm just scrolling through right now to see stuff I didn't answer. Rick asked, "What do you think about the startup ecosystem in the Netherlands, and how does it compare to startup hotspots around the world?" I think the Netherlands is doing pretty well, and yeah, there's just the only difference is in culture. I think we really have smart people, smart developers, great designers, great business people. Um, yeah, but if you're in San Francisco, you can really feel the difference. The whole mentality of people is different. Everybody's sharing, like, what are you working on? What are the lessons you learned? Um, Talking about stuff that went well or didn't went well. Um, and I think that's something you can't really recreate, so you can't fake it. And I think the best for a country like Netherlands is to discover their own style in the whole startup and web tech world, and then see how we can be as awesome as San Francisco. Okay, so last two questions are the bottom ones. Brad asks, have you thought about doing something about Startup Stash to make it more scalable? Um, I don't know what you mean by scalable in this sense, but yeah. So one thing that's definitely not scalable is the submissions on the homepage. So if you go to the bottom of the to the footer of Startup Stash, you can submit a product, and that's just a type form. And I get an email when someone submits a type form, and then I have to go through that manually and then try and see if I like the product and where I can put it. So yeah, that's definitely not scalable because that's my time, and that's the most difficult thing to scale. So yeah, automating the submission process would definitely be something that should be worked on to make it better. Okay, last question. The bottom one. John asks, "Why do you think people trust your judgment on the stash so much?" No, no clue. Um, yeah, that's actually a really good question. Um, I don't know. I think maybe because I'm just sharing a lot. I'm sharing all the products I find, and all the products that I like. So yeah, maybe people think that I have, I don't know, good taste or good judgment um, on these kind of products. Yeah, it's very difficult to pinpoint it for me. I mean, I think it would be easier if other people would tell me, because um, I'm just doing something I find really fun, like discovering new products, talking about them, looking at them, seeing if I find it useful, why does it exist. Questions like these are stuff I really find interesting, and I also think it's fun to share. So yeah, maybe that's why people trust my judgment on these kind of things. Let me check if there's one more question I missed. Um, no, I don't think so. I think I answered them all. Thanks, everyone. Um, you can follow me on Twitter at Bramk, Bramk, and let me know what you think about this AMA and Startup Stash. And yeah, thanks so much. See ya.